Our math warm-up today involves having you fill in the correct exponent or power of 10 for each of these problems to make the number sentence true. So go ahead and pause your video, number your board or paper from 1 to 4, and let's get to it. So if we take a look at our first problem, we have 45 divided by 10 to the something power equals 4 5/10. And the correct answer there would be 10 to the first power. Our second problem, we have 312 times 10 to the something power equals 312. And our exponent in that one would be 2. And our third problem, we have 6 5/10 divided by something equals 0 65 thousandths. And our correct exponent in that instance would be 10 to the second power. And our last one, 97 divided by something equals 97 hundredths. And this one would also be 10 to the second power. How did you do? For our math message today, we have a plethora of triangles to the right there, and notice that these triangles have strange little markings on them. So we're going to talk about what those markings mean first of all. So if we see markings that look like this, that means that this side, it has 2 little hashtags or tick marks, whichever you would like to call them, and this one also has 2 and 2 here. So that means that all 3 of these sides are exactly the same length. Then, of course, we have the infamous little square here in the corner, which signifies that that is a right angle. And again, we have this symbol here, which is one hashtag or tag or tick or whatever you'd like to call it there. And that means that all 3 of those sides are equal to one another. This triangle, this side, and this side are equal. And then we also have a right angle. So we've got this side and this side are equal. This one is not. And then no special symbols for that one or this one. This one we have all 3 sides are equal. This one we have 2 sides that are equal. This one has a right angle, 2 sides that are equal. Right angle, 2 sides that are equal, and one that is not. So what I want you to do is pause your video and think about how would you sort these triangles. And you can sort them any way you'd like, but I want you to be thinking about those little hashtags or hash marks, those tick marks, and the other symbols that we just talked about. So pause your video and let's see what you got. Okay, so what I've done is I have highlighted colors that I would have sorted together. So see if you can figure out why I put those particular triangles together. So pause your video for a minute, look at my colors, see if you can figure it out. So, welcome back. Did you notice that the green triangles all have right angles? So I put all of those together. However, notice that this particular triangle has a right angle, but I did not put it in that category. So can you think of why I did what I did? Hopefully you will in just a moment. The green was the right angles. The yellow, notice that we have 2 sides that are congruent or equal to one another. So I've got 2 sides, 2 sides, 2 sides, 2 sides, 2 sides that are equal to one another. The blue, I have all 3 sides that are congruent or equal to one another. And then the red, we don't have any special markings on those triangles, so I grouped all of those together. Now, let me ask you this question. What were the attributes or properties that I used? So an attribute or a property would be something like brown hair, blue eyes, if we were talking about people, or if we were talking about dogs or cats, maybe long hair, short hair. Those would be attributes or properties. When we're talking about triangles, we are talking about the length of the sides or the congruency of the sides, the right angles, those kinds of things. Sometimes we're going to have something called overlapping sort, and that's going to kind of be one of our focuses today. So notice this triangle here had a right angle. So technically, I could have placed it in the green group, but it also fit with the yellow group. So either one of those groups is where that triangle could have landed. If we had said 3 sides, we could have put all of these triangles into that group. But notice we got a little more detailed with the 2 congruent sides or 3 congruent sides, right angle. So we could have had another category even that was right angle and congruent sides. So there you have it. Our lesson today is a hierarchy of triangles. The reason we are doing this lesson today is for you to be able to reason abstractly and demonstrate thinking using diagrams or pictures and look for attributes or patterns. How we're going to do that is we are going to explore a new way to classify triangles into overlapping groups. To start us off today, we're going to talk about a Venn diagram, which all of you should be familiar with, and what we're calling today the hierarchy, which is a mathematical way to organize information. So if we look at the left, I have the same categories, I guess I could say, as I do on the right. So this would be an example of what the Venn diagram would look like. And this is an example of what the hierarchy would look like. So notice on the Venn diagram, we have students in my class with a sibling, and students in my class with a sibling who is a brother. Okay? On the right, we have students in my class with a sibling, students in my class with a sibling who is a brother. Now notice that we're starting with a very broad topic or property or attribute, and we are narrowing it down to very specific attributes or properties. And the way that we do that, we start at the top with the most general, and then as we travel down the hierarchy, it's going to get more and more specific. If you notice with the Venn diagram, we started on the outside of the Venn diagram with the general attribute, and we got more specific as we got to the center. So let's go ahead and create a triangle hierarchy. In order to do that, we have to have category and subcategories. So remember when we talked about how our attribute or our property was going to be pretty general to begin with. So that would be the category. And then it gets more specific, and those would be the subcategories. So the name of our hierarchy is going to be triangle hierarchy. And what we're going to do is we're going to sort the triangles that I have over here on the right into these categories and subcategories. So our first category is triangle. So what we would do is we would pull each one of these out. And yes, this is a triangle. So actually all of these would be in that top category. So they all are triangles. And then we're going to start to place them into subcategories. So our next subcategory under triangles would be isosceles. Now, an isosceles triangle has at least two congruent sides of equal length, in case you didn't know that. So isosceles have at least two sides of equal length. So this particular triangle would be in that category. Actually, this one would. This one, this one, this one, and this one. So we would leave all of those up at the top for just triangles. And then we're going to work our way down. So we're going to go through all of those isosceles triangles and try to determine if we have any that are equilateral triangles. Now, equilateral triangles are the triangles that have three congruent sides. So we're looking for ones that have three congruent sides. And it looks like I have one here. And in this batch, I only have the one. So this is how we would create our hierarchy for this particular group of triangles. Now, we could create other categories and subcategories. You could change those up, change your names, change your groupings, but this is an example of what you are going to be doing in class. So you'll have triangles similar to these, and you're going to create a hierarchy of triangles. So let's summarize. When we group items, they go into categories and subcategories. A hierarchy is used in math with the most general group on top getting more specific as you move down the hierarchy. That's all for now, friends.